In this video, I'll cover the process of using the Molding Polyline tool to create moldings for 3D and 2D for your plan details. These moldings can be created in a plan or elevation view and further edited in those views as well as in 3D. You can use the tool to create a simple molding on a wall like this backsplash or for a more extensive plumbing diagram. Let's start with a molding for the backsplash. In this sample project I have open, I've created a hole in the backsplash and I want to create a frame molding with another backsplash inset. To create the frame molding, I'm going to use the CAD box tool. You'll see this up in my upper menu system. Using this tool, I'm going to come over, I'm going to pick up a snap on the hole, and I'm going to drag until it snaps onto the other side. This has created a CAD polyline box. I'm going to take that box and I'm going to convert it to a molding polyline. To select the box, I'll click on the area where I created it. Be sure that you can verify that it is a CAD object. You might see that in your status menu versus the actual hole in the backsplash. Once this is selected, there's a tool in my lower edit menu called Convert Polyline. Using this tool, I'm going to select the option for a molding polyline. Toward the bottom of the dialog is an option to retain the original polyline that will leave the original CAD box I created. And below that is an option to select the type of layer you're going to put it on. And the default here is to put that on the moldings layer. I'm going to go ahead and accept both of these options and use the convert option. The program then displays the molding polyline dialog box. On the first general panel is the option to have the molding information on the selected edge and a few other settings for your mitered twisted joints. You may find that in some cases where you're drawing cornered moldings or angled moldings, and you may want to use mitering at twisted joints. There's also the option to miter if the molding edge is turned off. Sometimes you may want to turn an edge of a molding off, perhaps a valance over a window or other option for your moldings that you're creating. I'm going to leave these settings on the general panel as is. I'm going to move over to the actual moldings panel, and the default molding that is placed is a 1-inch square molding. I'm going to move over and replace this from the library. I'm going to come into our core catalog, down into architectural moldings and profiles, and then I'm going to select a chair profile molding, and I'm going to select this particular molding profile. You see the profile update. There is information on the width and the height of this molding. Depending on where you drew this, this may be appropriate to adjust the height and the width. I'm going to leave it as is, and we're going to talk about a few options as we close this dialog and take a look at what happens with the molding. So as I close the dialog, you see the molding update in the elevation view. Let's return to the plan view, and then I'm going to use the camera and let's point and click in the direction of that molding and take a look at it in 3D. As I zoom around and look at this in the 3D view, you're going to notice that this molding is actually pretty thick as I can kind of rotate around, and you see how thick that molding is. I created this in an elevation view, and what I'm going to want to do is rotate that molding so that it's flat. So in this view, I'm actually going to click on the molding and then use the open button in the far left-hand corner. Use the open button, and I'm going to take this molding, and you see the profile preview down in the lower portion of the dialog. I'm going to use the rotation, and let's rotate that 90 degrees. Press the tab key. You can now see the profile update, and then when I close the dialog here, you can see how that molding now looks with a rotation on it, more like the profile I'm after. And then as I go back into the elevation view to create the backsplash, I'll just use the specific backsplash tool. We'll zoom in a little bit. I'm going to pick up a snap on the corner, pick up a snap on the other corner, and then create the backsplash. And now I have that inlay. And from the 3D view, you can better see the backsplash inlay behind that molding polyline. That's how molding polylines work for a use case like that. Let's switch over and take a look at using this for an isometric or a plumbing diagram. For this sample I have opened up, I've changed the Save Plan view into an HVAC view. I've already placed the plumbing diagrams for the cold water, hot water, wastewater. And in this layer set, you can see that for the walls, I've also turned on the studs. And I'm going to go through the process of drawing a few of these items. You can see them in a plan view, and then we'll also take a look at that in a 3D view. With the line tool, I'm going to begin with the wastewater line. I'm going to draw a line. Let's just kind of draw this all the way through part of the bathroom area right here. So I've created this line. I'm going to select it in the lower edit menu. I'm going to use the tool called Convert Polyline. I'm going to change it into a molding polyline. And then down in the lower section in here, since I know that this is going to be on a specific layer, I want to actually change this for the wastewater. And I've created a few different layers already. You can see them listed here. And I'm going to change that to the wastewater. That way I can isolate the layer, and I can also color code it when I get ready to do that. Now the program opens up the molding polyline dialog. I'm going to replace the molding that comes in that is square, 1 inch square. I'm going to replace that with a round molding. So I'm just going to type in round in here and then search for it. We'll find a round profile. And then for this particular wastewater line, I'm going to use a 3 inch line. And I'm going to use a few round numbers here. Make sure you refer to actual plumbing standards as you get ready to make your changes for your plumbing diagram. Now I've changed that to a 3 inch line. I'm also going to change the offset so it makes it easy to select this in the middle. So I'm going to change the horizontal and vertical offset of this to half the distance of the diameter. So that should be 1.5 inches, and I'm going to use a negative number in here, negative 1.5, and then we'll also use the negative 1.5 in the horizontal offset. Now on the line style, as I move over, you can see that I've set that up to be on the line style for wastewater. I might change that layer. Let's go out and just check that. I want to change that to maybe be more of an orange color. Let's set that up, make sure that it's on there. You can also change the fill style. So as we want to go in and make a fill in there, you could change that as well. I'm going to leave mine so that it does not have a fill. And then for the materials of this, I'm going to use the 3D view, and we'll actually color code that in a 3D view so it's easy to tell what that line is. So now that I've drawn that wastewater line, you can actually see with that offset, the selection handle is in the middle. So when I move this around, it makes it easy to select it, and the edge is not toward one side or the other. Now, as I go in and take a look at this in a 3D view, let's take our overview camera here. As I rotate around, let's zoom in here and take a look. You can see this, it's white, and I'm going to use the material painter, and I'm going to change the color code of that. So let's open up the material painter. I've saved a few colors in here. I'm just going to sort this based on HVAC. I'm going to use an orange-ish color, and then we'll just paint that particular item orange so it's a little easier to stand out. So now you can see where this plumbing line is coming in. Also, I wanted to point out I am using a specific layer set called the 3D Camera HVAC. I've created it, and it's my default layer set for this camera view. You can see I've created a number of layer sets here, and it just makes it easy to isolate things. That way when you take an initial 3D view, you're not changing it. Now, if you want to move this around, you can certainly get the right view as I rotate around here. And to make it easy, sometimes if you pull this down, let me just pull it down just a little bit, you can see that it may jump around on you because it doesn't know what plane to move in. I'm going to press the undo button one time. To move that down, I'm going to use the Transform Replicate tool down here in my lower menu. I'm just going to move that down, maybe, let's just move it down 12 inches, and we'll adjust it down. So it makes it pretty easy to move it in that direction. And then if you want to adjust this, again, pulling it up, it doesn't know what plane it is, so it's going to shoot it in that direction. So typically what I'll do is take different side views. I'm going to press undo one more time, and I'll show you how that works when I draw the vent up the side of the wall. So to create the vent, let's do something and repeat the process pretty similarly. So I've created the view and have the wall framing turned on, I want to put the vent right around in this area. So I'm going to use the elevation camera, and let's use the back clip elevation. We'll just draw an elevation right through the wall. Again, I'm using a particular layer set. If I show you what I'm using the same layer set for the HVAC in the elevation view as in the 3D view. So that's why I'm seeing the framing and plumbing fixtures. Now for this vent, I'm going to use the line tool. Let's click and drag up through this cavity. Let's use the convert tool to a polyline. And I'm going to repeat the same process I did for that waistline. I'm going to switch it over to a layer for the CAD vent. And then for the moldings, we'll set that to be also round. So we'll come in here, search the word round, find the same profile. And for the vent, I'm going to set that up to be, let's say, at 4 inches. So we'll go in and use a 4-inch. So that means my offset, half the diameter, minus 2 inches, makes it easy to select the center of it. And then we'll check the line style. So it's currently using black, and that works well for my purposes. Let's go ahead and close the dialog, and now you can see where that vent is. And to make adjustments on this, I want this to go up and around the wall. And if we go back into this 3D view here, you can see where that vent is. And let's use the material painter. Let's type in the word HVAC because I want to make sure that we can easily see this. And I'm just going to use this color HVAC black. And then we'll spray that on there. So now you can see where this vent is going to come in there. So I want it to go up through the floor truss. There's a parapet wall. I want to angle it so that it comes in and then is hidden by the parapet wall. So to create that angle, I'm actually going to create an elevation view from the other direction that I currently had open, and then we'll just angle it through there. So back into the floor plan view, let's use the back clip elevation camera. We'll just zoom in here, pull that through. You can see where that's at. In fact, let's slide that over so it's in the center of the wall. And then I'm going to pull it up into the truss. So we'll just grab the selection handle, grab the diamond, pull it over, and then we'll also pull it up. And again, hidden by the parapet wall, you can see that I have turned on. And in the 3D view, you can see how we've angled that up through here. I like to turn the framing on. If you're going to go through the detail of doing an isometric or a plumbing diagram, it's nice to be able to show exactly where these items are going to come in, and you can draw these specifically where you want them to. Now you can also create isometric views. I've been using just a perspective view. Let me open up another plan and I'll show you how the isometric view can work so you can use these molding polylines through isometric views. I've opened up the Saguaro sample plan. You can find this on the samples page on the Chief Architect website. I want to take a 3D isometric view. I've been taking elevation views and perspective views, and my layer set just happens to be on the HVAC layer set. I'm going to show you how to set that for this specific view. That way, if you're working in a mode for HVAC, you can change these views and not change your layer set all the time. Underneath my default settings, I'm going to come down to the camera tools, and specifically for the isometric floor overview tool, I'm going to change it so the layer set that I have is the default for HVAC. So I'm going to just drop that down. This is a layer set that I've created. And now when I take a isometric view that is a floor overview, it's going to be in that specific layer set for that 3D HVAC that I just switched. And now you can see the isometric view that was created. This is a floor overview, and you can see that bathroom area that we were working on. And as you kind of rotate around, you can see the wastewater lines are inside the foundation wall. And it makes it easy if you're going to create an isometric view to set this up as a layer set, and that way you can use the molding polylines specifically for such things as a plumbing diagram. Well, that wraps up this video. I hope you found using the molding polylines helpful to create various custom items that range from a backsplash molding to a plumbing isometric. Thanks for watching.